Hello, hello.
Hey,
Yeah, welcome back everyone to Ukrainian Spaces, our live edition that is being automatically recorded, and then maybe you're listening it already as a podcast. Nevertheless, welcome. Valeria, yeah, I'm, so sorry because I need to start this broadcast with this ugliest thing that happened to you that was already happening while we were recording the previous episode. The vile online attack that happened on you, and I'm, as a person who deals a lot with online security and disinformation, the attack that had all the signs of being a coordinated attack. How you've been dealing after that?
I'm okay. I think it's obviously been horrific. One thing I will say is that it's funny how I just don't even want to talk about like any descriptions of what happened and why it happened, but just to say like 4 years ago at my previous job, I worked on like a massive campaign about violence against women online on Twitter in particular. And we did a whole campaign essentially asking, Twitter to be better at making sure that women are not silenced for, any opinions that they hold, essentially, by getting loads and loads of abusive, tweets, abusive messages, abusive and threatening, essentially, rhetoric in their regard. And it's just insane that I don't know. I mean, it's not insane. It's completely expected that it also happened in my case. As you tell me, like as soon as you have more people following you, and as soon as you start, reaching certain parts of Twitter that you've never reached before, like the abuse just comes straight away in your direction, and it's a bit. Anyway, sorry, that was a very long-winded explanation for how I
No.
feel, but essentially, I'm just grateful for people who were like, many people, by the way, who I met. This is not to like do massive promo for Ukrainian spaces, but like a lot of people who did help me over the past couple of days were people that I met because of our podcast and because of the network that we created as a result. And many of you know these people, and I'm just grateful that we were able to meet and talk and create that connection that helped me over the past couple of days.
Absolutely. But the good point is also to emphasize that this kind of vile abuse, of course, those people, those Ukrainians online who are growing in their audience, they get more of it. But each and every Ukrainian faces this kind of abuse, maybe on a lesser scale. Some days are easier, some days are worse, on each and every social media platform these days, on top of Ukrainian accounts being every day systemically suspended due to organized mass reporting. So I think we also discussed a lot with Ukrainians over these days and over especially what happened to you, how we can all deal with it. And some of the foreigners, they are even good-hearted. They would suggest, well, you can just quit the social media platforms, or you can, you just log off and you don't have to do this. And this is where lots of people do not understand that it is a privilege for you to log off and not to speak out while your people are being genocided. And that kind of privilege the majority of Ukrainians do not have. And we use each and every platform, no matter how disgusted we are with these experiences. We keep coming back every day, keep doing that, because for us there is no other option. So instead, let's talk about the security on these platforms. Let's talk about how we can protect Ukrainian voices and why there's so much abuse happening while we're talking about these ridiculous things of, charging us for using the platform or for using blue checks. Sorry, I rant.
No, it's totally understandable. It's been a week with a lot of different things that have happened, and I think, yeah, anyway, I think a lot of these things are getting to us, and it's just important to keep reminding ourselves that, we're in for the long run, and we just need to get all the tools we can to be able to keep going. So, guys, check out, by
Yep.
the way, Maksym posted, I know it's about me, but he posted a thread about basically tools and tricks of misinformation, disinformation, and trolling that Russia has been using for a very long time. And it's quite helpful because if you're feeling, because it's quite easy to feel like what's the attacks that you're getting are not coordinated, and it's like gaslighting. Basically, you start doubting yourself, you start doubting what you said, you start doubting everything. That's their literal intention to do that. So if you just need a reminder of the fact that this is an actual tactic that has been used for such a long time, to not just to Ukrainians, by the way, to many people. And how many times have we repeated over and over again that, Syrians have been saying this for a very long time to many of us, and, many other people before that, literally the whole logic, the whole strategy that a lot of these bad actors have is to divide us and to make sure that we start doubting ourselves and start doubting our empathy towards like people in general. And so let's just like remind ourselves that it's something that's deliberately done to us, and there's very little, actual solid grounding in what these people say. So just to say that, Ukrainian Spaces, for those of you who don't know, is obviously about amplifying Ukrainian voices. But today we're also going to talk, and we have spoken, and in general, it's also important to remind everyone about not just amplifying Ukrainian voices, but protecting them. So thank you for coming and listening to us today.
And before I introduce our featured Ukrainian for today, I also want to thank our Patreon sponsors, because Ukrainian Spaces is 100% listener supported and exists thanks to generous donations of our Patreon family. By the way, if you are as enraged about what has happened to Valeria and other Ukrainians online, the best way I can suggest is to donate more to Ukrainians, to Ukrainian army, to Ukrainian volunteers, to Ukrainian Spaces, if you'd like so. And for our Patreon, if you join our Patreon family, not only you help our mission to amplify more Ukrainian voices and decolonize more Ukrainian conversations online, you also get lots of extra bonus content, but most importantly, you get front row seat when we feature our guests. You can ask them questions directly, join the broadcast, or through us. So please do consider that. Anyhow, that's it. I think it's time for us to introduce our featured Ukrainian.
Yes. Hello.
Following our golden rule, we let our featured Ukrainians to introduce themselves. So please tell everyone else who you are, where you come from, and maybe a little bit how your life has changed in recent 8 months of the genocide in Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm Vladyslav Heraskevych. I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I'm skeleton athlete, two-time Olympian, and already head of charity foundation. It's like mine by my surname, Heraskevych Charity Foundation. So life changed completely, and now sports feels not so necessary. Feels necessary to help as much as we can. Now we try to do it through the sports also. So now I'm getting back to shape, and we are planning to do whole World Cup season and to bring as much attention as possible to Ukraine through the sports.
Yeah, well, I can also add, because this is something very important for everyone else to know, that you're also our Ukrainian first skeleton racer, right? So when the full-scale invasion was about to happen, you were actually abroad, right? So you just came back home during those days on February 24th. Is that right?
Yeah. We just like 9 days after Olympics, like when we come back, I think 8-9 days. Yeah, so war starts, full invasion starts, and everything's changed.
But I remember that you made also headlines, because back then in Beijing, you had this banner, right, that you, during the broadcast, you held, which was "No War in Ukraine" or something like that, which was quite controversial at least back then. Why you decided to do that? Because this is not something that, as I understand, in sports, in international sports, it's not something that is encouraged much.
Already at the time, before Olympic starts, we had information from the news that a big number of Russian troops around Ukrainian borders, and we decided to create this sign and show it in a competition if situation doesn't change for a better. So when competition starts, was information about 2 times more troops. It was information about, like, before Olympics it was 100,000. After a time when I compete, it was 200,000. So it was like sign to show that Ukraine are peaceful country and we don't want a war. Like, we against war. We wanna live in normal environment. We don't wanna like have war, and we wanna like set our goals, achieve it, but we don't wanna like fight with some orcs. So it was the main reason why we do it at that time. Also, like my feelings was also controversial. So when I show it, in my mind was like, what I'm doing here. So like 21st century and no war sign, like it's crazy. Like what's going on with this world? But 9 days after, like I understand that it was really special, and I fully like 100%. So if I can do it again, I would do it, because it's really important to bring attention and to show that we're not like we don't want a war.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's so brave of you to use the platform that you do have to talk about a cause that's so important to you. And we've seen in recent years that in sports in general, sports used to be, people say it used to be like an apolitical thing, and no one essentially did stand up to injustice using that platform. But we've seen over and over again, in football and in many other types of sports, people stand up and make a stance and speak out. I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about the reaction that you got to taking a stance, to speaking out about Ukraine, to sharing with the world what you thought was important to share. And has that changed since? Have you been getting different reactions to your positions since, I guess, February?
Yeah. So first, I want to like respond here on like sports out of politics. So it's really being loudly said by IOC, it's International Olympic Committee, but it's also not true. And like for IOC, for like platforms like that, for them, when it's comfortable, then sports is out of politics. When they need to do politics in sports, they also do it. So my first Olympic Games, it was Pyeongchang in 2018, and in bobsleigh, it's like where 4 men bobsleigh. So 2 men was from South Korea, and 2 men was from like another Korea, and it was like Union Korean team. So, and they told like all headlines was like Korea is united and by the sports, and so it's also politics. So when they need, politics are here. When they don't need it, politics is out. So for Russia, at example, politics always was there in the sports, and it's a reason. Also one of the reasons why we had this like biggest in history Olympic history doping scandal in Sochi Games. Yeah, so it was government doping program, and if sport is out of politics, why government do it? Also, when we compete on the competitions, when you win, it's you hear your anthem of your country. You see flag of the country, so it's already politics. You don't listen like your own music, your own soundtrack, or you don't put like your own flag. So it's already politics, and it always was politics. Second question about like reactions. It was a lot of reactions, and most of them was support. One country, like one representative who showed some criticism, it was Russia, and they start treating me, and they say so I should be disqualified. But I don't mention in my sign, in my call for a peace, I don't mention Russia. So they was just So they show that they was like not interested in this sign. But I don't mention Russian in each interview. Like I don't mention them at that time. But other countries, other representatives of countries show a lot of support. After that, we was on Congress in Lausanne in Switzerland in summer when we fight for a suspension of Russian athletes from our international federation. And some representatives say like they don't understand it at that time of Olympics. They don't believe that war is coming, and they think that they don't understand what I'm doing. But after 9 days, their mind was changed, and they fully understand why I do this call for a peace. But still, we have a lot of support and a lot of good words and physically support and like some humanitarian aid from other countries, and I really thankful for that.
I actually thankful for you to be so honest and raw about it, because you're a young athlete, and that could also, that kind of honest, passionate stance for your own country can also damage potentially your career, and you do understand that as well, but you keep telling the truth. And the truth is, I also super appreciated the open letter that you wrote to the president of International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, and in response to his ridiculous statement that Russia did not start this war, that Russian athletes are not at fault, and that they want to depoliticize athletic sports. But you challenge him on the fact that Russia has broken Olympic rules. It has a doping program. And you rightly criticize a Russian athlete when that person stood on the podium wearing the letter Z on his clothing. So, we do understand as Ukrainians how important sports is for Russia and how integral it is for Russian ideology of fascism, like any other fascism. But we also understand the influence of Russian corruption and Russian corrupt money on international institutions of sports. Can you tell, maybe for people who do not know necessarily about how deep it goes, maybe you can educate all of us why is it a problem and why it's not just about Russia's image, but also Russian corruption?
Yeah, so several federations heading by Russian soldiers, like Russian colonels, as like Poznyakov, for example. Yeah, so he, president of Federation of, he is president of National Olympic Committee of Russia, and he is colonel in Russian army, and so, at example, like when Thomas Bach put this ridiculous statement, next day after the statement, Poznyakov had a speech at front of all IOC family, and he was telling some information about education stuff, like how we should educate people, and they put some videos, and in this videos was from Russia already at time when war comes, and already with some Russian narratives and propaganda. So just understanding how deeply they are, like even now, colonel of Russian army acting like do like some speech at front of all IOC family about education. So several other federations, as a boxing federation, amateur boxing federation, who also a member of Olympic family, he also Kremlov, he's also now like heading this federation, and they like they banned junior team flag from competition. So they say Ukraine team should compete under natural flag because of nothing, like because they thinking it's right now. So in other a lot of Russian corruption. So Gazprom and other big Russian companies, they give money to these institutions a long time. So of course they have a lot of influence, and a lot of corruption in the sports. It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah, and I guess to contrast that, I wanted to ask you a little bit. We ask a lot here about Ukrainian identity and how people feel Ukrainian, and in general how they've developed their own understanding of what it means to be Ukrainian. And I don't know, maybe this is just my perception, but I actually like think sport has played also an important part in the lives of Ukrainians, in feeling proud about their nation and feeling proud about who they are, what they can do, what they can achieve. You know, some of the most famous people in the world who are Ukrainian are from the world of sports. And, you know, it's allowed us to really show what we can achieve and what we can do. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your own experience of how sport influenced your understanding of Ukrainian identity and over the years.
Yeah, so for me, like as I start, like sports is not only about results. So sports is not highest jump. It's not only highest jump. It's not like just super people, like superhumans who can like jump longest jump and like run faster, sliding faster. It's also about Olympic values. Yeah, these values what we try to give to the world, and it's example what athletes should give to the world, and it's also why we should. Yeah, so like on one of the reasons why we should suspend Russians, because like they represent war and death, and they don't have place in international sports, because international sports should represent good values. And also my experience, like I do like new sports for Ukraine, and I'm really proud to do it, and I'm really proud to represent my country to the whole world, and I try to do my best every time to represent my country as best as like I can, and I'm really proud to meet our Ukrainian athletes who like big names, big champions. They're also very, very nice people and very educated people, and they really represent Ukraine as good as possible. And I'm really glad that through the sports, because now also at that time when we create charity foundation, we also do some charity trainings for kids in the occupied territories, and in Chernigiv, in Borodyanka, kids going through the hell. It's true, and it's really nice that through the sports we can bring this childhood back to the kids, and through the sports you can see when they like some smiles even after these nightmares, and this is what sports should do. And I'm really proud that even from this charity training some kids continue their career, and now one of them now here with us in Latvia, and he is also do skeleton, and several more kids in Ukraine waiting for opportunity to also continue do skeleton more professional. So I'm really glad that through the sports we can do good things and help kids recovery from the war.
Actually, I really admire you for that, because we came across each other after genocide started, and one of the things that I was really right away just super impressed that even, you know, in the first weeks after genocide started in the war, you regrouped and you started doing lots of volunteering and lots of help for Ukraine, including your foundation, including the work that you mentioned. But can you tell us a bit more, like, why you decided that this is the way for you to be helpful these days? Because I know that you even tried to enlist into the army right when the war started, but it didn't work out. So yeah, can you let us know more about how this whole work with foundation after the genocide started happened, and how you decided that this is a way for you to be?
Like first, I think we what's going on and collect some information and tell it through the media. So I have a lot of friends all around Ukraine, and one friend, for example, like he's from Volnovakha, so all these nightmares what we see in Irpin, Bucha, Volnovakha had at the second day of war, or the third day of war. So, and I try to tell this information that like, yeah, civilians getting hurt, civilians building getting hurt. So not just military objects, and it's not true. So we also ask for help, ask to do donations and everything for our country. after that, and at that time, we also was in contact with army, and I asked like what I can do, and they say like if you had no like military experience now, like it's just continue your job, and it would be better. So after a few weeks more, we start do volunteering. Just like we have a big car from our sports. It's like Mercedes Sprinter, so you can imagine like it's pretty big, and we start just be drivers. So like we deliver some stuff. At the same time, my close friends in Kiev, they also do volunteering. So they like, buy some food at supermarket and deliver it to people who need it. But at some point, we understand that like it's we don't use our talents as best as we can. So we decide to create charity foundation and try to collect more support through the world. So at that time, at now, we got a lot of support and a lot of big campaigns. One of the campaigns we finished already with Ukrainian aid operations. We collect $60,000 for Alaska tents. For winter time, it's super necessary, and it's for our medical units. So another campaign, it was with USA Luch. One man, his name Dmitry Feld. He Ukrainian, but he left Ukraine a long time ago, and he lives in USA. We getting our sports, so together. Big container, 40-feet container, approximately like support more than $100,000 in container, so it would be delivered soon. Also, we work with different associations, athlete associations, and try to also bring support through these associations, and they help us. Also, like some aid in Portugal, we collect some aid in Portugal. In several cities in Portugal, mainly it was Lisbon. So this aid already delivered to Germany, and I think next week it will be in Chernihiv. Work with some Ukraine campaigns, so we do a lot of job with our foundation. Also, what I'm really proud is this charity trainings for kids. We do it in several cities. So also we do it in Kiev for kids from Mariupol, with Association Ya Mariupol. So we try to do our best, and of course to bring sports to the kids and to recover them.
Yeah, thank you. Look, while we're still on this topic, I have a quick follow-up, but this is extremely important question. It's about Ukrainian athletes. And again, Ukraine, if you folks didn't know, Ukraine is one of the legendary names in global sports, and thousands of Ukrainian athletes who are also affected by this genocide and war. Some of them are on the front line, some are volunteering, but all careers are more or less disrupted. So, Vlad, I wanted to ask you if you can educate the rest of the folks, what are their challenges now Ukrainian athletes are facing, and how their life has completely been changed as everyone's, but still. And if, we have listeners who really love sports, how do you think they can assist and support Ukrainian athletes in any way that you feel might fit?
Yeah, so some athletes, they go to front lines, and it's pretty big numbers, and some professional athletes suddenly already was killed, and we even have, like by Ukrainian media resources, was created website. It's called Young Sports, so in translation it's Angels of Sports, when you can read about these athletes and get to know their stories and their lives. So some athletes, they try to continue to do sports to bring attention to Ukraine, because like after full invasion starts, was several big competitions where Ukrainian athletes won medals, and whole world hear Ukrainian anthem, and it's also very important now. Several athletes create foundations and try to work as volunteers also big names, and if you want to support them, so you can support through this through the foundations, and if you want to support with AID, you can support it also. Like, we have a website, you can follow it if you want to support our foundation. Also, it's pretty known name, Yuri Cheban, so two-time Olympic champion. He also have foundation, so you can also find him and support his work. Also, our Olympic champion Oleg Verняev from gymnastics, he is also volunteer, and they also do some big campaigns. So also big foundations. Some athletes was involved to big foundations and also help them to bring more attention and to collect money. But I think, so it's a way how you can support them. Some athletes suddenly end their career because of war. For me, most disturbing part, as I think, it's kids sports, because now junior teams don't get any financial support from the government, and a lot of young athletes left Ukraine and go to the other countries, and some other country already gave them possibility to train, to do trainings, but in future these athletes will compete for these countries, so not for Ukraine anymore, and it's also really bad. Another challenge what Ukraine sports facing is sports facilities, because a lot of sports facilities in Ukraine was destroyed, and when we like see statistics, it's like really like huge numbers. But for me, like, I was in one sports facility in Chernihiv. It's an Olympic center, big stadium, and like 500 kilograms bombs was dropped on this stadium, on this Olympic Centrum, and so at normal time per month, like more than like 4,000 or 5,000 people professionally do sports in this stadium, and it's a lot of objects like that. So like more than, I don't know, like 6 million people, 7 million people can't do sports anymore, and of course now we don't see result of that on like international sports arena, but in 6 years, 7 years we will see, because new generation not come because they don't have possibility to train. So it's a big challenges for Ukrainian sports, and we will see result of that in the future.
Is this the stadium that you're talking about in Chernihiv? Is this the one that you had a photo with pinned on your profile that was like destroyed and?
Yeah, it's right. Also, we saw a lot of objects, but like, it's in Chernihiv. It was in second day of the occupation, and it's crazy. It's just crazy, and like you can't understand why we should facing it, but it's true. And also another story, when war ends, we should rebuild it, and it's also would take a long time. But I hope we will rebuild it and do it better, and we will do more sports objects, and our country will be more sporty.
You know, this is really random, but when you said it, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm like, my family's from Chernihiv, and my uncle used to be like a sports coach. I mean, he taught people, I think women's basketball for a very long time. And it's just, he always spoke about like importance of facilities and about young people being able to, have the necessary means and places and community to be able to train, to be able to bring up Ukrainian sports. So it's like, it's really painful to see actually how, the war has affected places that were so special for so many. But I'm going to bring in Tatiana, who wanted to add some more and ask a question specifically about this as well. Tatiana, please go ahead.
Hi, Vladyslav. I wanted to ask, kind of moving on, connected to what you were saying about the stadium. When I went through your Twitter feed, I saw that you pinned at the top a tweet of you standing in front of a bombed stadium, as you were talking about earlier. And you titled it, "Is Sports Really Out of Politics?" which is a really amazing message that basically, nothing can stay out of politics, because without homes, heat, infrastructure, sports also dies alongside everything else. I mean, just like art can't be apolitical, just like music cannot be apolitical. When there's a war, everything starts crumbling. So sports is right in there with everything else. Can you tell us how you felt in that moment, seeing something that you enjoy, that other people enjoy, that brings basically so much joy to people, be taken apart and ruined?
It's really hard for, like, as an athlete. It's really hard to see that stadium where, like, a lot of kids and a lot of people find a place, like, it's like second home for athletes, and they spent almost half life in the trainings, and now it's destroyed. So no sports in the city, and no athletics in the city, because, like, it was destroyed by rockets. And of course it's really, really hard to see, but of course I hope, like, so stadiums can be rebuilt, but lives can't be getting back. So of course lives, what was taken away, it's most horrible things at this war. And but stadiums, it's hard because, like, Ukrainian sports is facing not the best time at all, and at next 5-6 years it would be no new generation because of this war, and it's really hard. But I hope we will do all our best to save our sports and to help young kids to continue to do their favorite things.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Vlad, that you brought up that very important website that is also available on English, yangolesportu.teamukraine.com.ua. I pinned it to this conversation, and you can find it online. But there are many profiles of Ukrainian sports people who were killed, murdered, died during this genocide. One of it, I think the story that all Ukraine knows is of Alina Perehudova. She was a 14-year-old weightlifter, and she died during the shelling in the blockaded Mariupol. And she left her house with her mother when the explosion started, when the Russians attacked. And they were shot dead by a Russian sniper, her and her brother. And she was a pupil of regional specialized children's and youth sports school, and she was actually, preparing to be in the Olympic reserve. And she was just 14. I'm sorry, it's hard to talk about these things because you realize the extent of the loss of the entire generation that Ukraine is losing, the best people with so much potential in this genocide. And that's why it's important for everybody else listening, especially if you love sports. Ukraine gave the world so much joy in different sports over these 3 decades performing. And if you love that, and if you loved watching sports, watching Ukrainian athletes, I think the least you can do is show them solidarity at the moment and support Ukraine in every way possible. So this is something that I really wanted to share, and the names of these athletes, like the rest of the Ukrainians who died in this genocide, should be spoken out. Vlad, I'm sorry, it's a hard transition, but wanted to wrap up and ask you our favorite question about what it means to be Ukrainian these days, because lots of Ukrainians are rethinking it. Lots of things become clearer. So apart from your volunteering and work in your career as an athlete, is there something that has changed in your understanding of what it means to be Ukrainian for yourself in recent 8 months?
Yeah, I want to share one story. Like when we was with volunteering mission in Irpin, we met people who live in house what was like shoot by the tank, and this house was without electricity, without water, without like warming, without gas for more than a month. And we met people. They was looking like a homeless, and we talked to them, and like we at the time we want to give them some food. We start talking, and we understand, like, from talk that it's like common people, like some of them working in a bank, some of them was like from Lugansk, and we talk to them, and it's intelligent people, but without these things, they looks like a homeless, and we give them some food, and they take some parts, and another they say no, give it to people who need it more. And after we talk more with them, and they had so much hope, they had belief that Ukraine will win, even after all of that nightmares, like nearly their house. So Russian tank shoot their house, and so, but they wasn't afraid. They was like really believe in win, and they was really proud to be Ukrainian. So I would answer like Ukrainian is to be proud of your nation and to be proud for now. And for me, it's also the same. I'm proud to be Ukrainian, and I'm proud to represent my country in international arena. Ukrainian is it's really strong people, and whole world watch it.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree 100%. Moreover, I can tell you that as a kid growing up in eastern Ukraine, where there is a lot of effect of colonization, and you are not entirely proud of who you are, of your identity as a Ukrainian, watching our athletes from the first Olympic Games, I remember, from football championships, and I'm not like a sporty guy, but that was important moment for me to watch, not so much because of the sports, but because of that feeling that for the first time ever, I felt proud of Ukraine, and I felt joy, feeling like I'm a part of this community. I'm proud for our athletes. And this is a very cherished moment from my childhood, and I'm thankful to Ukrainian athletes because they helped me to feel that for the first time in my life. And hopefully when this genocide is over and war is over, and when we win, our athletes and you, Vlad, can keep bringing us that moment of being proud for our country for many years to go. So thank you so much for joining us and spending this time on your busy schedule with us. And we're incredibly proud and honored to have you here on Ukrainian Spaces and feature you and your work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for this invitation. It's really nice to be here and to speak with you. And so thank you everyone who listened, and see you soon.
Tatiana just shared with us a comment from one of our patrons about this episode, and it's for Vlad, so I wanted to quickly read it, which is that she just wanted to thank everyone for today's space, and because it reminded her of the transformational power of sports. I'm in awe of what you do, especially for children affected by this genocide. So thank you for coming, Vlad, and inspiring people who support us and everyone else as well.
That's from our patron, Margaret. Thank you, Margaret. Yeah, guys, if you're listening this as a podcast, which you will, and we will release it in a couple of weeks, please do not forget that it's super important that you rate the episode and also leave some comments under it, because that's how it makes us trend on these platforms. Now Ukrainian Spaces is available already on 8 platforms. You can check all of them at ukrainianspaces.com and choose whatever works for you best. But also thanks again to our patrons that made sure that this broadcast and this episode is possible. If you do feel like joining our Patreon family, you can check out all the information at ukrainianspaces.com as well. I think that's it for today, apart from one thing, which is Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава!